Hi guys, this is going to be your chapter 2 extra supplemental instruction video. What I decided to do, since I was doing it for my face-to-face class anyways, is I actually created some fill-in notes. So you guys will see added into your module a fill-in packet that you can actually print, and you can some of the information from the lecture that I'm giving now and make sure you have all those things filled in, and then that'll give you something physical to keep in front of you. So for chapter 2, basically it's going to talk about how do we set up a good fitness program, what are some of the components, because as I was discussing it with my other classes, we forget about certain components a lot, like flexibility and how important that is. And we just tend to focus on, oh, I'm going to go run 3 miles and then that means I'm healthy. And that's not always the case. So some of the key important comments or key components that you're going to want is when it's talking about increasing physical activity to improve health and wellness, which is number 3. On letter B, you're going to want healthy adults should perform 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity or 75% of vigorous intensity activity. And basically what that means is if you can get yourself to exercise at a higher intensity, you won't have to exercise for as long to get those same benefits. Now, if you go to letter C, what we've found is if you really want additional health benefits, you actually need to do more. So you need to up that to 300 minutes a week or 150 minutes of vigorous. Letter D, you want to make sure you are doing muscle strengthening at least 2 times a week. Okay. And then it just discusses a little bit about how we want to make sure we are not living a sedentary lifestyle. Know that sedentary means you're pretty much just sitting around doing nothing. And we know that that links to obesity, and obesity links to all these diseases and things we've talked about. In regards to how to manage weight, we know 66% of Americans are overweight. That's 2/3 of our population. Under that mentality, if you are trying to lose weight, 150 minutes isn't enough. And so if you're trying to lose weight, we actually recommend up to 90 minutes per day. Now remember, if you can increase your intensity, you can probably decrease that time a little bit. Okay, how much physical activity is enough? Regular physical activity we like because it protects us from chronic disease. And fit people have more energy and better body control. And then basically we need that energy. And one of the problems we have is people often don't work out because they're tired. And what they don't realize is if they worked out more, they probably wouldn't be as tired. Especially like when we say getting up in the morning. Everybody doesn't want to do it because they're so tired. But if you get up and work out in the morning, you actually have more energy throughout your day, even though that's very difficult to do. Also underneath how much is enough, it just talks a little bit about having a structured program. All of that can increase your health and wellness. For your components of physical fitness, letter A is cardiorespiratory endurance. And we like that because that is when we can perform something for an extended amount of time. We're using our large muscles. So something like going out and running or bike riding or riding an elliptical. And we like that because it helps our heart and lung function, which is very important, obviously. Letter B is muscular strength. That is how much output can we put in our muscles with effort. Obviously, we like that because more muscle mass, faster energy use. Basically, what that boils down to is you have a higher rate of metabolism. We want a higher rate of metabolism so that when I'm just sitting here talking to you, I'm burning more calories because I have a higher muscle mass, and then that benefits us. A big downfall is a lot of times females don't want to lift weights or anything because they feel like they're going to get too muscular or too bulky, and they don't understand that, especially if they're trying to lose weight. That's probably one of the best ways because when you increase that muscle mass, now even when you're just sitting around, you're burning more. Letter C, muscular endurance. This means we can do that over an extended amount of time. We like this because it's good for posture and injury prevention, okay? Which is super important, and we need to keep that in mind, especially as we age, okay? And because good posture, that's going to be dealing with your back and back issues and injury prevention, especially for athletes, because when we don't train all of these things, we see a much higher case of knee injuries, shoulder injuries, back injuries. Letter D, flexibility. That's the one a lot of people forget about. It is not as important that you stretch before, but it is very important that you stretch after. And in general, you should just be doing flexibility type of exercises and stretches, because as we age, those muscles or those joints stiffen, and that's when we can see a lot more problems later on. Body composition is letter E. That is how much muscle versus bone versus water. It's very important that, especially athletes, but anybody who works out, you understand how much water is in your body. If we don't have enough water, we don't function properly, and most of us are probably walking around dehydrated most of the time. And again, a lot of times maybe you've heard somebody say, oh, I'm just big boned, or that person's big boned. And in all reality, you don't know that unless you get an analysis and it tells you how much of what you have in your body. We want that. We want a healthy body composition because, again, it's going to decrease those risks of everything we've talked about: cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all of those. In the notes, you'll see picture examples of your different body types. So somatotype, mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorphs. Okay. And then just your skill related component is going to be things like speed, agility, balance, coordination. And you can always use specific types of exercises to work on those, which is important. Principles of physical training. This is how do we do it. So number one is specificity, and that is we adapt to different types of exercises. So if I always go to the gym and I always do squats and bench, I'm only working those muscles, and eventually those muscles adapt, and then I'm not really bettering myself in any way. And so I need to continue to do different exercises, different lengths of time, different intensities, so that I'm getting the most well-rounded fitness experience. That's also one of the reasons we talk about not having kids specialize too early. It's known now that a lot of major athletes who are at the top of their game were multi-sport athletes for quite a while before specializing. And it seems that that actually helps us because you're using different muscles, your body's responding in different ways, and it's not always the same thing all the time. Number two, progressive overload. How much are you training? And here we use what's called the FIT principle. So little I is frequency. How often do you do it? Again, we want 3 to 5 days for cardiorespiratory, and we want 2 or more for resistance and flexibility. The 2 little I's is intensity. How intense are you working out? 3 little I's is time. How long are you spending? Again, we probably want 20 to 60 minutes. And then little I, little v is the type. So what type are you doing? Letter D is important. It's reversibility. That means how long does it take to lose basically what you've gained? And so number 2, when a person stops exercising, 50% of that fitness is lost within 2 months. So this is important because we need to realize that if we have been working out for a long time and we miss a day or 2 or even a week, we can't just throw our hands up in the air and be like, oh, I've lost it all, I'm done, I don't even want to start over. You haven't lost that. On the flip side of that, if you get injured, if you get really, really sick and you're out for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you have to understand that you're gonna have to rebuild some of those capabilities, and not just your muscle, but your lung function and all of it. Individual differences, just know obviously we are all different. The risk of death from exercise is small. If you're under 35, usually the people that we see having issues with exercise already have a pre-existing congenital heart defect. Obviously, most of the time you have to get some type of clearance, so athletes usually have to get a physical. If you go to a gym, usually you have to sign a paper kind of releasing them of responsibility. Assess yourself, look at your own level, set goals, make sure your goals are realistic and attainable. Pick a balanced program. Like I said, make sure you're doing different things. Don't do the same thing every day. That's why I make you guys do that in your logs. And then for guidelines, you want to train the way you want your body to change. Train regularly. So under train regularly, letter A, consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Okay, start slowly, get in shape gradually. Another biggest mistake people make is they decide they're gonna get in shape all of a sudden and they go balls to the wall, and then the next day they can't move. And that doesn't encourage anybody to go back and do it again. So we have to be really careful about that. Number 4, make sure you warm up. Warm up before exercise. That is very important. As a coach, I realized that I was not good at that. I ended up kind of messing up my shoulder because I would just jump in and start hitting balls, and obviously ended up with an injury. So very important to warm up. And like I said earlier, more important to warm up and move. So dynamic type stretching where you're moving while you're stretching is much better than static stretching where you're just sitting and stretching. You don't really need to do that before you exercise. Cool down, that's where you want to do that static stretching. So number 5 is cool down. Make sure you're stretching, make sure you're kind of getting back to your normal level. Exercise safely. Take precautions. If you're in the cold, take precautions. If you're in the heat, take precautions. If you are lifting heavy weight, have a spotter. All of those things. Listen to your body, get adequate rest. That's something that we fail a lot at in our society, specifically college athletes, high school athletes, because they're going from class and school to practice to maybe another practice to homework, and then God forbid you want to spend time with your friends. Like it's a cycle. So it is super important though to make sure you're getting rest, or you're not going to perform as well as you want when you're exercising, and just in like your day to day, whether it be competing in sports or even in school, your brain function, all of that. Number 8, cycle the volume and intensity of your workouts. Same thing. Don't do the same thing every time. Okay? Make some longer, some shorter. Make some more intense, some less intense. Number 9, vary your activities. Number 10, train with a partner, somebody to motivate you, somebody to keep you on task. 11, train your mind. It's our biggest roadblock, is our mind telling us we can't do it, telling us we don't have time, telling us we're tired, telling us we're hurt, whatever it is. And be patient with that. Because again, one of our biggest downfalls is we decide we're going to be gung-ho and in shape, and we work out for a week and we feel like we're supposed to be completely, transformed into Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. And it's just not realistic. And especially if we're trying to lose weight, people will go, hard for a week. And then when they only lose 2 pounds or even 1 pound, then they freak out and they're like, oh, this isn't even worth it because it's not working. Well, we're really only supposed to lose 1 pound a week, maybe 1.5 pounds. So we can't expect to see like these aggressive changes in a short amount of time. It really takes a lot of discipline and commitment and patience. Fuel your activity appropriately. Diet is huge. We know that nutrition is key in everything, including mental health now. But specifically, especially if you're working out all the time and you're an athlete, you really have to think about some of these things and kind of try to figure it out for yourself. What works for everybody isn't the same. Yes, nutrition in general is very important in what you're eating, but even what you personally feel like you can perform best with. And like for me, I all day at a tournament, I couldn't eat Subway sandwiches and stuff like that. It made me feel too slow and not energetic. And so I would eat a little bit of fruit, maybe a banana with some peanut butter, but I couldn't, some of my friends were eating 2 or 3 sandwiches at a time, and I just couldn't even fathom that. So have fun. Again, if you are miserable the entire time you're working out, chances of you keeping up that routine are very small. Find something you like as part of your fitness level. If it's walking outside, walk outside. If it's walking your dog, walk. I purposely got a dog one time because I knew I would enjoy going out running more and training for a half marathon if I had a dog with me. So I did that. I love my boxing workout in Florida. I'm not gonna lie, trainer probably made me cry a couple times, but I just loved the environment. I loved the workout. I loved that some of my friends went there and we would do it together, or we would at least talk about it. And so that makes a huge difference. Track your progress, get help if you need it, and try to keep everything in perspective. Exercise is very, very important, but sometimes other things are important too. And so if you have to give, make a different decision for one day, that's okay. Just try to keep everything in a balance. So fill in those notes. I went ahead and put the chapter 1 fill-ins so you would have them. And you should be able to get that information. I might post a little extra video for the chapter 1 fill-in since I only just lectured for you guys the first time. And but they're available, and you guys can print off both of those. So have both your fill-in notes and both your PowerPoints, and you should be good for the exam. It'll open up Friday morning, and you will have until Sunday night to complete it. Make sure that you are doing it on your own because you should have everything in front of you.